Welcome back as we continue our Motzi Yom Kippur marathon. And now we are learning Yom Kippur's Daf. And it's always a little bit of a challenge for me preparing these two blot because I usually prepare them on Yom Kippur, which is a little bit of a busy day. Barish was probably watching me a little bit prepare during davening, sneaking a look at my Gemara.
I saw you in the last part of the last daf. I said, "Oh, the good, the Rav still."
I'm glad you're prepared. Yeah. It's not the best for davening.
What?
I'm glad you're prepared.
I don't take away from my davening. Just Hashem gives us
that would take away from my davening. The success of today. Complete attention to Hashem.
While I was preparing today, I was looking at the number of the daf, and I thought it was very auspicious that the daf of Yom Kippur is Yud Ches, is Chai, so it should be a sign for us that we should have a year of life, a year of health, and a year of no troubles. Second. So asks Gemara, why do we need to have two different sources for how we know that one who is lacking vestments disqualifies the avodah? So the Gemara says, as we continue from the first line of Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, Ime Hasam, if it would be only the pasuk that tells us the Gizei Reshava, the Chuka, I would think it's only disqualifies by an avodah that a non-kohen would be chayev misa for. Now, this is interesting. A non-kohen is, of course, not allowed to do any avodah, but he only gets misa b'nei shemayim for what's called an avodah tama, a finishing avodah. A finishing avodah is like the zrika, sprinkling the blood, because that finishes it. Or the haktorah, smoking it up on the mizbeach. Or nisach hayayin and nisach hamayim, the wine libation and the water libation. See, if the zar would do the Kabbalah, that's not a finishing avodah, because after catching it, you got to bring it to the mizbeach. You got to throw it on the mizbeach. So there he wouldn't get misa. And therefore, I might say, says the Gemara, Hani mili avodah de zar chayev alei misa. Aval avodah de ein zar chayev alei misa. But an avodah that a zar doesn't get misa for, like the Kabbalah, etc., I might say it's not disqualified if you don't have the vestments. Kamash malon. Says the Gemara, okay, Ashkechan mechusah begadim. Now that I have two psukim for mechusah begadim, I could know even if it's not a avodah that a zar is not chayiv misa for. Shisuya yayin minala. How do I know that shisuya yayin also is disqualified even if it's not an avodah that a zar is chayiv misa? So now we'll learn it out the other way. Asya chuka mechusah begadim. We'll learn out shisuya yayin from mechusah begadim. Says the Gemara, but V'atana, our Tana said that we know shisuya yayin not from the Gzei Reshava. We know it from the pasuk of Lahavdil bein atamei v'atar that says that one who drinks is bein hakodesh and bein hachol, that if he drinks it's considered mundane. Says the Gemara, he learns it out. Lahavdil bein atamei v'atar kanasavla. Says the Gemara, no, that was only Mikame Delekim Gzei Reshava. That's only before you use the Gzei Reshava. Says the Gemara, but you're confusing me. You're telling me now that we learn out Shisuya Yayin from Mechusah Begadim, but we just said that we learn out Mechusah Begadim from Shisuya Yayin with the Gzei Reshava of Chuka. V'atana Mechusah Begadim hu de Yalaf b'Shisuya Yayin. Says the Gemara in Hakikama. This is the way to understand it. Minayin shaloi nechleku bein mechusah begadim l'shisuya yayin v'shaloi rechutz yadayim raglayim. How do we know that there's no distinction between all three of these? The one who is drank wine, the one who is missing the vestments, and the one who is didn't sanctify his hands and feet. Says the Gemara, but if we know Shisuya Yayin from the Gzeir Shava of Chukah Chukah, then what do we need the pasuk of Lahavdul Bein Atame Bein Atar? El Lahavdul Lamali. That comes to tell me a different halacha. And that is that a Rav is not allowed to paskin after he drank wine. Shasa al Yaira. Look at the Rav. The Rav lo yimukim amora alei miyuma tova lechavre. Rav would not appoint a broadcaster to have him teach halachas from one day of the Yom Tov to the next, mishum shitkris. There's a beautiful story with Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. The Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld on Pesach night, the Rav, the venerable Rav of Yerushalayim, would make a very fast Seder and then go to sleep. And they asked him why. He says, because later on in the night he gets a lot of shilas. They say that they benched and they forgot to eat Afikomen. What do? What happens if child hid Afikomen, went to sleep, and they don't know where it is? All kinds of shilas. But if he's going to make a regular Seder, he's going to drink 4 kaises. He's not going to be able to paskin. So he made a very fast Seder. That's being a servant of the public. And he went to sleep so that when the shalas came, he was already able to paskin.
The servant of Hashem.
The servant of the public and of Hashem. Now, says the Gemara, it's the Gemara we had. He says, am I giving you royalty? I'm giving you avdus. I'm giving you servitude. Serve the public. There's the Gemara, but there's still another pasuk. There's still another pasuk about the vestments. Akate mehacha nafka. Mehasam nafka. There's another pasuk. V'nosnu b'nei Aaron hakayin. And it will be given this pasuk. Let's just see what this pasuk is talking about. Yeah, it's talking about putting the wood on the mizbeach. V'nosnu b'nei Aaron hakayin eish al mizbeach v'orchu eitzim al eish, and he adds wood to the fire. So we know that Aaron is a kayin. It should just say v'nosnu b'nei Aaron. Why does it say Aaron HaKayin? Again, b'kihunai. He only has a din of a kayin when he's wearing his uniform. Limeid al kayin gadol shelo avash bigdei kayin hadyin. This teaches us that if Aaron would wear the 4 vestments instead of the 8 vestments, v'ovid avidasai, and he do the avodah, it's psula. So once again, we have a source that if you're not wearing your uniform, it's no good. Says the Gemara, yeah, but ima hasam, hamamina, I would think, hani mili avoida the ma'akva kapara. If we only had the previous drasha, I would think only an avoida that gets in the way of the atonement. But putting the wood on the mizbeach, that doesn't get away in the of the atonement, because there's always a fire on the mizbeach. Eish tamid tukad al mizbeach lo yisichbet. There's always a fire. Aval avodah lo ma'akva kapara lo. And therefore the pasuk is telling us that even if he wasn't wearing the proper vestments when he was doing something that would not invalidate, it still is no good. Says the Gemara, Vakati miyachan nafka? Miyasam nafka, we have another source. It says, Va'orchu b'nei Aaron ha'kohanim es ha'nesachim. They arranged the pieces. So again, it didn't have to say ha'kohanim. We know that the b'nei Aaron are kohanim. It says the Gemara, ha'kohanim b'kihunan, b'kan l'kohen hedyot, that if the kohen hedyot wears the 8 garments of the kohen gadol, that's no good. Mekan the kohen hedyot shalavish bigdei kohen gadol va'avid avidas psula. So the Gemara says, yeah, but that's a new chiddush. Because imahasim, if from the previous drushes, havamina hani mili chiser. When is it no good if you're defective, if you're missing? Aval yiter, but if you have 8 instead of 4, I might think it's not disqualified. You know, I might think that. So the answer is no. Less is more. You can't have
There's an optimum wavelength, and either high or too low needs to come back.
That's
to the
correct.
center again. Yes.
Aval yiter loy kamash malan. Now, 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, as we learn after Yom Kippur, putting our money where our mouth is. We said, Hashem, we want a good year, so we're going to use our time to learn. And right away we step up to the plate, even after fasting for 25 hours and being very, very tired. Bravo to all of you. Tan Rabbanan, Hayu Merushalin. If the Big Day Kahuna were hanging low, they're dragging on the ground, it was too big for him. Mesulakin, they were too short, they were suspended from the ground. Mishuchakim, or they were worn out. Va'avad, and he did the avoida avidasik sheir. This opinion. However, lavash shnei michnasayim, if instead of wearing 1 pair of pants, he wore 2 pair of pants, shnei avnetin, 2 belts, or chiser achas, or he missing one of his 4 garments, or yiter achas, or he has 1 extra garment, oisha isaritia al makos besaro tachas begadai, or he had a bandage on a wound under his beged, so it interposes between the beged and his flesh, oisha hayu mitushtashin, or it was dirty, it was smeared, oy mikarayin, or torn, va'avad, and he did the avodah avodas psul. Okay. Now, here we learned whether it's too long or too short, it's kosher. However, this is not so simple. As the Gemara will tell us, a big machlokes over here. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Merushalin Ksherin. If it's dragging on the ground, it's kosher. Mesulakin psulin. If it's too short, it's possible. Says the Gemara, but we just learned not that way. Vatanya Mesulakin Ksherin. We said that if it's too short, it's kosher. So Rami Bachama says no. It can't be too short. It has to be the right size. But if it's too short because he made the belt tight and it hitched up, and it was short because it grabbed and bunched up some of the fabric, then that's good. As long as if the belt wouldn't have bunched it up, you would have the correct size. Amarami b'chama loy kasha, kan shesilkon al yedei abneit. If it was short because the belt crunched up some of the fabric underneath it, so that it was too short, that's good, because you had the proper size. Kan delesnu meikar klal. If it's not the proper size, so then it's no good. However, and now the plot thickens, Rav says echad zeh psula. Whether it's too short or if it's too long, it's possible. Oh, we said if it's too long, it's kosher. But Rav says whether it's too short, whether it's too long, it's kosher. It's possible.
Everybody wore garments that were fitted to that person?
Fitted to that person.
So how would it be too long and too short?
What?
How would it be too long and too short?
They didn't fit it right.
You figure it.
Yeah.
Or he tightened the belt differently.
No. Don't get confused. Tighten the belt is different than not fitting.
Because Rob
That's-
agrees that the belt would be different.
What?
Rob agrees that it was because the belt was too.
Well, he doesn't say. Let's see. We have to see that. We don't know.
So when he went to get his, he went prepared, he went to go there, and they didn't fit him correct. He couldn't go back and say, listen, it's not right?
Well, no. They didn't. Either he didn't realize it until he got into the base of Mikdash, or he gained weight.
So gaining weight will make it bigger, fatter, and skinny. It won't make it longer and taller.
Sure it will.
It'll pull up.
Yeah, put it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
It appeared to be shorter.
okay. So says the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara. The plot thickens over here. Rav Huna ikla la Argiza. Rav Huna visited Argiza. Ramalei barush Ichna. There was a host, and the host's son was a yeshiva man, yeshiva bacher. So the host asked a contradiction. Mi amar Shmuel merushalin kisherin u'mesulakim psulin. Did Shmuel say that if it's dragging on the ground, it's kosher, but if it's too short, it's possible? I vatanya mesulakim kisherin. We said if it's too short, it's kosher. Amalei, so he says no. Barmi no dahi. You could do away with that question, because we explained the Shani Rami Bachama. Because Rami Bachama said, it depends. If it's not enough fabric, so that's when it's possible if it's too short. But if there's enough fabric, just it got hitched up from the belt, then that's good. That answers the contradiction. But Elul Rav Kasha, because Rav says, Echad Zev Psulin, while the Brisa says that if it's dragging on the floor, it's kosher. Says the Gemara, V'chi teima, my mirishalom. What does it mean if it's dragging on the floor? Misulakin al yidei avneit. It means that when is it kosher? If it's too much. That's when the belt pulls it up and makes it the right size. This is what Barish was talking about, right? Where if the beggar is too long, but the belt hitches it up and brings it to the right size, so then we say that the belt is considered like it cuts away the extra material. So Maimer Shalom, what does it mean if it's too long that it's kosher? Mesulakin al yidei avneit, where because you hitched it up with the belt, it now gets to size because of the belt. You have extra material there, but we say v'avneit megiz agaz. It's considered like the belt cuts away that extra material. But if that's the case, then where it says elamesulakin kasha, it says that if it's too short, it's no good. But we learned that if it's too short, it is good. And we said that if it's too short because of the belt, but really you have the whole material there, that's why it's good, because you have the whole material there. But if you say the belt is as if it cuts it away, then you can't say it's like you had the whole material there. So Gemara says you're right. Amar Rabbi Zeira Rav Chadatani. You have to read it as one, not as two teachings. Merushalim, if it's hanging low, shesilkan al yidei avnei, but it's picked up to the right size by the belt, then that's kosher, because then the extra material is considered like it's cut away by the belt. So now, says the Gemara, Amar Reb Yirmiyah Medifti, Merushalin Shaloi Silkan. If it's hanging low and it wasn't lifted up by the belt, right? So you have extra material. So you'll say, is that simple that it's no good? It only is simple it's no good if you say that extra is no good. So the Gemara wants to say it's a machloikis tanoim. The Tanya says in the pasuk about tzitzis, al arba kanfos kisuscha. You should put tzitzis on the four corners of your garment. Now, since it says only a four-cornered garment, if a garment only has three corners, like for example, if you look at my kapota, in order that it shouldn't be a four-cornered garment, one of the corners they round off. So that way, it's not a four-cornered garment. A three-cornered garment is not chayiv and tzitzis. The Tanya al arba kanfas kesuscha arba v'loy shalosh. Only if it has four corners, not if it has three corners. What about if it has five corners? What about a garment that has five corners? Four, not five. It adds an extra statement, that which you cover yourself with. What do you think you're going to do with it? You're covering it with, that's extra. It comes to include a garment of five corners. That comes arba v'lei shalosh. So you'll say, well, if asher tchasaba is a ribui, is coming to add, and arba is coming to exclude, how do we know to exclude three and to include five? Maybe we should exclude five and include three. What makes us think to more logically include five and exclude three? So the Gemara says simple. Because five contains four. Three doesn't contain four. Says the Gemara, five, sheyesh b'chlal chamesh arba. Four is absorbed in five. I exclude three. She'ein b'chlal shalosh arba. Now that's one drasha. The Tanya Yidich will learn in another brayso. It says in the pasuk al arba kanfos kesuscha, the four corners of your garment. Arba v'lo shalosh. A four-cornered garment and not a three-cornered garment. And also arba v'lo chamesh. A four-cornered garment and not a five-cornered. That's how we paskin. Five-cornered garment is not chayiv in tzitzis. So one excludes five and one doesn't. My lab b'hakam ifligi. The ma'asav yoser command isay damin. That if it's more, it's like it's there. If more is like it's there, so it's not a four-cornered garment, it's a five-cornered garment. We don't reckon with more. So then over here we would say the same thing. If more is considered like it's there, so then it's not sized, and the big dekuna would be puzzled if it's dragging. If we don't say that more is like it's there, then it wouldn't be disqualified. Says, well, no. It's like it's there. And therefore, if the big kahuna is hanging on the ground, it's extra, it's no good. Why over here is there an amandiyama that says that five is good? That's because we have an extra pasuk of Asher Tchasaba. Shani Achad, the Rabbi Rahman, Asher Tchasaba. So what does the other mandiyama do with Asher Tchasaba? So he uses it for a drasha. Question is, the pasuk says, you should see it. The tzitzis. So, what about the tzitzis of a blind person? So it says the Gemara, "V'idach hayasher techasaba mayavdilei." Mibaylei lekidesanya for the following brayse. It says, "Oriisam Isai." You should see the tzitzis prat leksus laila. That comes to tell you that a four-cornered pajama is not chayis in tzitzis. It's in the night. You can't see. It's dark. Naturally, you can't see in the night. Or maybe it comes to include the garment of a blind person. That includes the garment of a blind person. That comes to exclude pratlixus laila. So here's the obvious question. Why do we include more the garment of the night than the garment? Why do we include more the garment of the blind person than the garment of the night? Simple. The ksus suma can be seen by other people. The garment in the night can't be seen by anybody. Other people could see it. I exclude the garment of the night. Nobody can see it in the dark. And the other one who uses asher techasaba to tell me that a garment of 5 corners is chayiv in tzitzis, how does he know to include the ksus of a suma? Naftali from the extra word asher. V'idach asher loydar. She doesn't hold that that's extra. Now,
So a 5-corner garment has that tzitzis in?
no. Now, the big day kuna are linen. Linen, of course, is flax, is pishtan. The word bad, michne say vad, means linen. But the etymology of bad to mean linen is not clear at all. And the Gemara is going to say, how do we know bad means linen? Tan Rabbanan, first the Gemara says, we seem to learn a lot of things from the word bad. She'ei shel butz, that it should be of linen. Bad shiyu chadashim, that it should be new. Bad shiyu shizurim, that it should be many threads twisted together. Bad shiyu chutin kafel shisha, actually 6 threads twisted together. And bad shelo yilbash shel chol iman. It should only be the big day kuna alone. You shouldn't wear something else. You can't wear a windbreaker with it. You can only wear these 4 begadim. So now the Gemara tries to figure out, how do you know all these things from the word bad? Amalei Abaye Rav Yosef, Bishlai Mishiyu shel butz. I understand that we could infer that the big day kuna of linen. I understand when you say that bad means it's butz, that means that since bad is linen, it insists that it has to be linen and nothing else. Bishlam Yishei shel butz, or kamash malan, butz in, only linen, midachin aloi, it can't be silk. Ela bad shiyu chadashim? Are you telling me that it has to be new? We learned earlier that if it's mishuchakim, if it's worn out, it's good. Chadashim in shchakim like. Vatanya, we learned earlier on the top of the Amid, mishuchakim ksherim, that it's worn out, it's good. Amalei, so he says, tameich bad, sheyichut and kafel shisha. Do you think we learn out from the word bad, etymologically, that it has to be twisted from 6 strands? The word bad means alone, which would mean a lone one. Bad chad l'chudei mashma. Means each one separate. Elahachi kamer. Begadim sheneba ben bad. The big day kahuna that it says by it, the word bad, tzrichen shabutz, preferably. It should be linen, chadashim, new, shazurin, twisted, sheichut and kafel shisha from 6 strands, but these aren't all a must. Yesh mehem lemitzvah. Some are lechatchila. Yesh mehem la'akiv. Others are mandatory. So now the first thing I told you, the etymology of bad as linen is not clear at all. So mimai dahai bad kisno. How do we know bad is flax? Kisna is flax in Aramaic. Amar Rav Yosef Reb Chanina davar oilam in a karka bad bevad. That which grows from the ground, one strand to a flaxseed. And that's unique to linen. Says, what do you mean? Ema Amra, it could be wool that comes out from the animal, one strand from a pore. Amra miftzal. No, the wool on the animal splits. So it's not one. It splits into two, to three. So the Gemara says, Kisna nami miftzal. Flax also splits. It only splits when you beat it. Al yidei lakusa miftzal. Ravina says we don't need to say it from the etymology of the word itself. We have a pasuk in Yecheskel. Ravina Amar mehacha. Pare pishtim yual rosham. The kohen wears hats of linen on their head. O michnesei pishtim yual mosnehem. And pants, trousers of linen on their loins. Lo yakaru bayaza. They shouldn't be girded in a place of sweat. Now, since it says over here in Yecheskel that the trousers are pishtim, are linen, and the Torah says michne sevad, so we see that it's linen. So now the Gemara asks an interesting question. If you're learning it out from a pasuk from Yecheskel, how did they know what it was before Yecheskel came around? Yecheskel was written later.
There must be an oral tradition of it.
So let's see. Gemara has to teach us this. Amalei Rav Ashi Ravina said.
What about the obvious? The gematria is 6.
What?
Bad is 6.
Yeah, that doesn't tell you it's linen.
But 6 strands.
Yeah, we're not talking about that now.
No.
Says the Gemara. Amalei Rav Ashi Ravina. How did they know it until Yecheskel came? Says the Gemara, well, you know, the din is that a kohen cannot do the avodah if his brother died from hemophilia. If his brother died from hemophilia and therefore they didn't do a milah on him because they were afraid that he wouldn't clot, he's not allowed to do the avodah. Even though there's nothing wrong with him, he believes in milah, and he only can't do it because it's dangerous, he's not allowed to do the avodah. Well, how do we know it? We only know it from a pasuk in Yecheskel. There's no source for this disqualification in the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's first revealed in the Navi Yecheskel. It says, Kol ben necher orel leiv, any stranger who has an uncircumcised heart, that means he's a sinner. He didn't mal himself because he's a sinner. Or v'orel basar. He's only physically uncircumcised because of the danger. Lo yavay al mikdashi l'shosen. He can't come to serve me. So, from that we know that even if it's only Orel Basar, because his brother died from Milah, he's not allowed to do it. But it doesn't say it in the Torah. So asking about Yecheskel Minala. Until Yecheskel came, how did we know it? Ella, like Michal Avram hit the bullseye. Gemara Gemirala, we have it at Allah L'Moshe Sinai. It's a tradition from Sinai. And V'asi Yecheskel V'asmechei Akra. And Yecheskel gave us a prop, a pasuk later on. But we knew it from the tradition. Hachanami, we knew bad is linen. Gemara Gemirala, we had a tradition, Rebbe from Moshe Rabbeinu. And later on, when he said, Michne say Pishtin, he gave us a prop, a backing from a pasuk. Now, we said that the avnate should not be yachgeru by yoza. Should not be girded by yoza. What does by yoza mean? Okay. Talk about etymology. Yoza. Amar Abaya lo yachgeru b'mokem shemezian. You can't gird it in a place where there's sweat. Kedetanya kishem chaygrin, when they girded the belt, ein chaygrin loy lamata mitmasneyan, they couldn't gird it below the loins, because there the stomach fat rubs over there, and there's sweat. V'loy lamala me'atzilehen, and not over their elbows, because that's an area by the chest where there's sweat. Ella, where do they wear it? Ella keneged atzila yadeim, by the elbows themselves, over there. Okay, so we are now in place. I think what's going to happen is, it's going to be that we're going to have to learn tomorrow, not Matzah Shabbos Tublat, and then again Sunday Tublat, because otherwise we're going to fall. Right, Sukkot is Monday night, right? So if we want to get ahead for Sukkot, or if we don't do that, we're going to have to do Tublat again on Chol Hamoed. But we like to get ahead. We don't like to get behind.
What time is Matzah Shabbos?
Matzah Shabbos. Yeah. I think it's 9:15. Let me look it up. I did do that already. I have that.
It says at 9:15.
9:15, right. I did do that already. Now.
I'm going to be in Queens for Shabbos, Queens.
Okay, so we'll see you in Queens. Oh, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
Okay, so now Rabbi said we have to do the Mishnah Yomis.